everyone. Welcome to this week's deeper dive into Moses, our series on Moses out of Egypt. My name is Eden, and I'm excited to dive into this with you. This last week in his sermon, Pastor David covered what it looks like to hold on too tightly to things that God has given to us to simply hold and then give back to him. And we looked at the story of Moses' mom, and I want to dive into that with you guys this morning. So if you would turn to Exodus chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. Now a man from the house of Levi went and took as his wife a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she put him in a basket made of bulrushes and daubed it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it in the reeds by the riverbank. And his sister stood at the distance to know what would be done to him. Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river while her young women walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant woman, and she took it. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go to call you a nurse from the Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." So the girl went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. And then she was asked after this to give Moses back to Pharaoh's daughter, and he was taken as her son. I personally, after hearing this message, got a chance to reflect on the ways that God has been faithful in my life. And I thought back to my freshman year, so before I committed to going to IWU, Indiana Wesleyan University, I just wanted to go straight to Africa. I was called to Africa, I just wanted to go. And so the summer after my freshman year, I was looking for every possible opportunity to do that. And it was just not coming through, it was not coming together. So I accepted and had peace that I was going to be doing an internship in the States. And just as I felt peace on that, God opened up this opportunity in Australia. And I thought, it's not Africa, but it's at least a different country, and I could go somewhere. And when I arrived in Australia, I realized that Toowoomba was the top place for refugees from the Congo and Uganda. So I actually got this opportunity to work with people who had been removed from their home in Africa and to be able to minister to them in a way that I couldn't have in Africa, and to really gain experience that's going to be beneficial to me in the future. And this is just one example of ways that God gives us a dream, he gives us something to hold on to, and I thought that I could do whatever I wanted to do to make that dream happen, and it was not coming through. And when I accepted God's plan and gave that back to him, he returned it to me tenfold, and I got that opportunity. So I just want you guys to take a time of reflection, to look back at God's faithfulness, to see these dreams that Pastor David talked about and that we just read about in Moses' mom, things that God has given to you or that he's promised to you, and see the ways that he's been faithful, and see the ways that he's shown up for you time and time again. And I would just encourage you, what does it look like to live in trusting God and trusting his faithfulness in providing for you in those dreams and in those areas? I always like to look back at the ways that God has been faithful in the past, to make a list, like literally write it out in your journal, ways that you've seen God be faithful to you. And then put that to the future. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so you will get to see God's faithfulness in the future. Thank you for joining in this week's deep dive. If you didn't get a chance to watch the sermon, we encourage you to check it out here. And we'll see you next week in next week's deep dive.